Have you ever felt stuck between where you are and where you want to be? Hi, I'm Daniel Rosas, and this is Grind and Grace Podcast, where we talk about personal development and faith-based principles to help you close that gap and reach that destiny that God has for you. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about transformation. And when we talk about transformation, the battle starts within the mind. It's all about what we think, how we think, that influences our actions. And today we're going to be talking about 5 different forces that influence your thoughts, your mindset, your belief system, and ultimately the actions and the life that you experience. So we're going to dive into those, and I'm hoping by the end of this video you will not only be aware of these forces, but you'll be able to make shifts that bring change into your life. So what are these 5 forces that shape our mindset and our belief system? The first one that we're going to look at is our culture, the culture that you are brought up in, the social norms that you adopt. And this is through your upbringing, the communities that you have built around you. And look at what the Bible says in Romans 12:2. It says, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." Now, if we look at that, it says, do not conform to the pattern of this world. There's a pattern of thinking that the world brings. And if we're not careful, we will fall into this pattern. And this pattern is through the cultures that we adopt. It's a pattern that we can easily fall into. So we're called out of this pattern, and we're called to renew our mind. Renew the way we think. Don't fall into that cultural type of thinking, because what happens is that when cultures bring limitations, they can limit the way you think of what is possible and what is impossible, what you're capable of doing and what you're not capable of doing. And if you have the wrong culture around you, if you have a culture that is limiting you, putting you down, and discouraging you, then you'll never break through and reach the transformation that you're looking for in your life. And you can see this example in sports. Sports teams that are able to build great cultures are very successful because they instill a positive and a growth mindset. They don't allow things to knock them down, but everything is about extending forward and reaching the goal that is ahead of them. Purpose, growth, progress. These are the cultures that we want to make sure we are surrounding ourselves in, and not cultures that limit us or keep us stagnant. So the question that you have to ask yourself now is, are you conforming to a culture that is limiting you, or are you going towards cultures that are pushing you, building you, and progressing you towards what God has for you? The second force that influences our mindset is our past experiences, the wins and the wounds that we have. See, we all go through wins where we go through these experiences in our life that we feel great victories. But we also have these experiences in our life that we get hurt, the trials, the tribulations, the pain that we feel. And so all of these experiences, they play a role in shaping the way we think. And if we're not careful, they can place limitations on us out of a sense of fear from being hurt again, from feeling that pain again. And likewise the other way, from victory. When we get victories, it brings a sense of confidence to be able to step out into certain areas in our life. That's a positive mentality, a mindset growth. And that's why it's so important for us to step forward, because the more we're able to step into places of victory, it's going to continue to shape your mindset in a positive direction for growth. But with that being said, when we experience the pains and the trials and the tribulations in our life, we cannot allow that to hold us back and to be stumbling blocks for our growth, to instill fear in us. Because the Bible says this, it says, I have not given you a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and self-control. So the fear aspect should never be an issue for us. For he has given us a spirit of power, love, and self-control. And these three overcome the aspect of fear. And with this being said, our past experiences, what happens is that now people respond or react in situations rather than respond. They become reactive. And the Bible also says to be sober-minded, which means that we must act accordingly with wisdom and not out of just a natural reaction. So our past experiences cause us to naturally want to react a certain way because it acts as a defense mechanism to not get hurt again, to not want to experience that pain again. But we have to be able to push past that barrier in our life if we really want to truly grow and experience that transformation in our life. Now look at what the Bible says in Philippians 3:13. Forgetting what is behind and straining toward what is ahead. Which means that I don't get stuck in my past. I don't get stuck whether it's a victory or whether it's a pain. I'm not gonna allow the past to hold me down. Because just as people get stuck in their past victories or pain, they can allow the victories to be their stumbling block as well, where they do not progress further because they don't feel like they have to grow. They don't feel like they have to put in the work or the effort, so they get stuck. So we must remember that the past is a lesson, whether it's a win or a loss. They're all just lessons for us to take and continue to move forward and grow and strive toward the goal that is ahead of us. And the third force that shapes our mindset is our failures, the failures that we experience in our life. Now, we all are gonna go through failures, but the real question is how we respond to those failures. And deeper than that is how we view those failures. What are we looking at? What is the perspective that we have for these failures that we experience? So we need to realize that failure is not final, but it's feedback. Failure will feed us if we allow it to. If we allow it to feed us, we will grow and get better from the failures that we experience. So we know that famous quote from Thomas Edison that says, I have not failed, I've just found 10,000 ways that don't work. And that's the mindset that we need to have, that a failure doesn't stumble us, it doesn't hold us back, but we just learn from it and progress forward. And I think one of the things, if I can speak on a personal level, I think one of the things that hinders us, or how fear hinders us, is because we fear not failure itself, but we fear the perception of others from our failure. We fear how people are going to view us. We fear what people are going to think of us because we failed. And that is the biggest issue with failure. So how do we overcome that? Well, we have to get rid of this fear for the validation of others. And we need to just move forward in faith. Now the Bible says, though the righteous fall 7 times, they rise again, which means we will fall. That's not the question, but the righteous, they rise again. They rise again. So we must not allow failures to keep us down, but we continue to rise, continue to rise. And each time we stand up, we get stronger. Each time we stand up, We learn something. We're built. We're strengthened. So remember that failure does not define you. It refines you. Do not allow failure to define you. It doesn't define who you are. Allow failure to refine you. Allow failure to grow you and to progress you forward into that transformative life that you're striving for. And the fourth force that influences your mindset is your associations. Who are you surrounding yourself with? Who are the people? Who's your circle of people that you're around, that you're allowing yourself to be influenced by? Because the people that you surround yourself with are going to influence the way you think. They're going to influence your habits, your behaviors, your goals. So if you're around the wrong people, you're gonna be filling yourself with the wrong influences in your life. And I know there's some people that'll say, well, nobody influences me. I do whatever I want. I say whatever I want. I'm my own person. But that's a lie. See, because we all are influenced by the things around us, whether personal relationships or what we're fed through the internet, through TV, through social media. We're all being fed and influenced to think a certain way. And I go back to what Romans says, do not be conformed to the pattern of this world. To the pattern, do not be conformed. How? Because you are being influenced. You're being influenced to think a certain way. So we can't be ignorant to think that we're not being influenced. So the question is, what do we do about it? We have to surround ourselves with positive influences. People that are going to help us grow. People that are going to help us draw the best out of us, that are going to push us. So the Bible says this in Proverbs 13:20. Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm. Who you walk with matters. The group of people you surround yourself with matters. If you surround yourself with people who are lazy, who don't like to work, then that is what you're going to become. But if you surround yourself with individuals who push themselves, who strive for more, who are godly, who are pushing themselves to better themselves and grow, then you will adopt these mindsets. You will adopt these habits, because that is what you're surrounding yourself with. So this fourth force is very important if you want to experience that transformation in your life. So the challenge here is, who is in your inner circle? Are they lifting you up? Are they pushing you to be better? Or are they limiting you and pushing you and pulling you down? So that's a question you have to ask yourself. And the fifth force that will influence your mindset is the level of exposure. The more that you are exposed to something, the more that you will see the possibility of being able to achieve it. So what does that mean? That means, what are you thinking about? What are your dreams? How much are you thinking about it? How much are you focused on it? If I just have a fleeting thought of wanting to be this type of person, but I don't actually hold on to that, and that's not something that is consuming my thoughts, where I'm exposing myself to think on it, to meditate on it, then I'm not gonna feel like it's possible to truly achieve it, to truly reach that goal. But the more that I expose myself to it, now what does that mean? I have a dream, I have a vision, I have a goal, and I think on it. How much am I exposing myself to that goal? What am I doing? See, because our actions are exposing ourselves to that goal. How am I feeding myself to reach that goal? All of these different things are exposures, levels of exposure that will shape the way we think. So here's the biblical principle here, Ephesians 3:20. God is able to do exceedingly abundantly more than all we ask or imagine. Now the question is, what are you asking and imagining for? Right? I love this verse, and this has been a verse that has been close to my heart because it has caused me to learn how to desire more and ask for more in my life, not in a selfish way, but in a development way, in a personal growth way, in a way that is going to cause me to be better, not just for me, but for my family, for my friends, for those around me that I serve. That if I can be that best version of myself, then God is going to take me to a place that I'm going to be able to help those much, much more if I am a better version. So it's caused me to think and imagine things beyond or raise my level of imagination, if you want to say. So the question here is, what are you exposing yourself to? Are you exposing yourself to higher levels of thinking? Because the Bible says this as well: as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. So the more you expose yourself to a thought, the more you're going to become that thought. That's who you are. So if you think negatively about yourself and you're constantly exposing yourself to negative thoughts, then that's what you're going to become. But if you constantly expose yourself to positive thoughts, to godly thoughts, to what God is saying about you, then you'll step into that person that God has created you to be. All right, so ask yourself that question. What are you setting your mind on? What is taking, or what are you exposing yourself to the most in your life? So these are the 5 forces that influence your mindset and produce transformation in your life. So what's the next step? Where do you go from here? Number 1, identify. Out of these 5 forces that we just spoke of, identify the areas that are limiting you, that are bringing negative mindsets into your thinking, which are creating bad habits and actions in your life. So number 1 is identify what is holding you back. Number 2 is replace them. So not only do you have to remove certain things, but then you have to replace them with good habits, with good thoughts, with good actions that will produce that transformation. So identify, replace, expose is number 3. Expose yourself to knowledge, expose yourself to people that are going to help you grow, that are going to help you be that better version of yourself. And then lastly, stay consistent. Stay consistent in the process. It doesn't help to make a shift for a week. It's not 1 week that's gonna make the difference. It's not 1 month that's gonna make the difference, but it is constantly just becoming that person, becoming that version, by making those habits be who you are rather than something that is just what you are doing for a short time. So consistency is by the way you can be consistent is just make it who you are. So this does it for the first episode of Grind and Grace. I want to thank y'all for joining me, and let me know if this message blessed you. Please screenshot it, share it on social media, tag me. I want to hear how you're applying these principles in your life and how God has blessed you through this message. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. And if you found value in today's message, please leave a review as it can reach more people and bless them. So I want to thank you all for joining me once again. I appreciate you. And remember, always grind with purpose and walk in His grace. God bless.